Is that the name of the movie?
There's a movie?
Yeah, called Mike and Me. It's a ET ripoff sponsored by McDonald's.
Yes, that's the thing that Paul Rudd always shows
Yes.
the clip from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Yes.
a MST3K of it that they did on Netflix for one of the new seasons, and it's very good.
I haven't seen any of the new ones.
Yeah, they're good.
I haven't watched. To be honest, I haven't watched any MST in a while.
Yeah.
I gotta get on that.
Yeah, those. I mean, they're only doing the 2 seasons on Netflix. They're good. They're good. All right, so I need to record here and then do that there. Okay, I think we're good. You ready, Mike?
Mikey's born ready.
All right, Mikey born ready. Audio's good there. Okay, let's do this. 5, 4. It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this. Welcome to the GamesBeat Decides podcast. This is the podcast where we decide everything about the world of games so you don't have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeffrey Grubb. With me is
Mike Minotti.
In today's episode, we're going to do some news. We're going to do some games. First, though, I want to talk to my friend Mikey.
Whoa.
How you doing, Mikey?
I'm fine. I'm
good?
Concerned.
You
Yeah.
sure?
I'm okay. I'm getting over this cold.
Yeah, we all
But
are.
yeah, it's.
If you cough during this podcast, I will scream coronavirus.
I think I'm past the coughing phase.
Right.
I didn't have too much of a cough. It was a big sneezing phase, and then like feeling miserable phase for a while.
Yeah.
I'm just like slightly plugged up now, so that's a big improvement.
Yeah, I had that long stretch of getting sick, and now when I don't feel well, it's just like I think I'm just run down. I think I'm just so tired. I think I was sick for so long, and my body's still recovering. Like I'm in that period now, which apparently happens when you turn 36 or 37, whatever I am. Yeah, but other than being sick, which I mean, you look online, everyone with the PAX, a lot of people got sick. Doesn't seem like anyone got coronavirus though.
No, I mean everyone gets sick at PAX.
Yes, exactly.
It's disgusting.
Just a typical disgusting, bacteria all over the place. Well, we'll talk about getting sick and coronavirus and all that stuff because that made some more news over the past week or so. First, though, I want to thank everybody for joining us. You can get more from me and Mike at GamesBeat.com. If you have something to share with us, you can email the podcast at gamespluspodcast@VentureBeat.com or get us on Twitter at GBDecides or at GamesBeat. If you are listening to this on the website player widget thing, which you just press play on, there's a podcast feed that you could follow. You could subscribe to that on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, and more. If you like the show, rate us on Apple Podcasts because that's the best way to help people find the show. And then thank you to Carlos Ain, who is Insane in the Rain Music on YouTube, for the use of our theme song. All right, Mike.
Yo.
Lots of news. A lot of stuff happened.
Apparently.
It's not as hefty as some weeks, but there's a lot of big things happening. Let's actually start down here at number 3, GDC postponed. So that happened Friday. It kind of felt like it was like inevitable at a certain point, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Like everyone was pulling out. Someone shared a map of like the show floor for GDC, which is the show floor of GDC isn't the most important thing. The most important things are like all the meetings happening around and the talks, but it does have a show floor, and the companies you would expect to find on the show floor were the ones taking up the most floor space: Google, Microsoft. Microsoft and Sony. And when they all started pulling out, you could see there was just this huge strip of floor space that was completely empty now. So GDC didn't really have a lot of choices here, and they say they are postponing. And so the March event is canceled, and that's what we were hearing beforehand, and a lot of people wrote up that story, and I think it's fair to say it's canceled because whatever happens in the summer, which is what they're planning to do now, is to like hold an event in the summer. It's going to be different. You're going to have entirely different plans. If you did like book a hotel, you still get that if you want, but like there's so many other factors there. It's like this is just a completely different event. It's probably going to be smaller.
It's probably a lot smaller, yeah.
So yeah, but I mean like this is just this kind of had to happen, and I mean I'm not surprised. But what do you think this means for like other events like E3?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? Like what's going to happen with E3? Because I mean, unless this starts de-escalating, which it hasn't yet, it's hard to imagine that show doesn't suffer a kind of a similar fate, right?
Yes, it's kind of, I mean, it's hard to imagine that if things like just kind of keep going at this pace, that it's going to be all cleared up by June. And, Sony's already not participating, but if like Microsoft pulls out, Microsoft like isn't on the specific E3 show floor, but their thing is part of the E3 show floor. The Microsoft Theater is part of that. Your badge gets you in. They are part of E3. If they pull out, suddenly that's like a huge presence.
I mean, the thing with E3 is that so many people have been cagey about E3 anyways,
Right.
and maybe just need the smallest bit of an excuse to pull out of E3 this year.
Right.
And here comes a real good excuse to do it, huh?
Yeah, it's like you don't have to be like, oh, we don't believe in the ESA, like a lot of people have been saying. You don't have to say that. You can just be like, we are concerned about the safety of our employees.
Yeah, you can make it a good thing. We love our employees just so much.
Exactly.
We can't have them getting the plague. Come on, guys. Sorry, gamers.
So if it doesn't happen, if E3 gets canceled this year, is there an E3 next year?
Man, I mean, a lot of it will depend on how things go without an E3, right?
Right, but it seems like they'll go well, right? Like, I mean, because Microsoft's still going to launch the Xbox Series X just fine without whether there's an E3 or not, right? They'll do video presentations. I mean, Nintendo will have its direct video probably around the same time, whether there's an E3 or not. Mm-hmm. It just seems like, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of companies are going to be like, oh, CD Projekt Red is going to launch Cyberpunk, and they're not going to have their meeting room upstairs at E3 if it's canceled, and that game's going to go on and probably just do exactly the same numbers as it always would have done. Do they come back the year afterwards to start talking about whatever's next? I mean, probably not, right? Like, it just seems like this is going to give a lot of people the evidence that they needed to know, like, oh, we didn't actually need E3. I mean, I guess we don't know for sure that it won't have a negative effect.
It's hard to say, right? Like, yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, but I mean, I've always been so skeptical. Like, E3 is dying or is going to die. This could be interesting. This could be doing things, but I'm not sure yet what's going to happen.
I mean,
I guess let's see. I want to see it canceled first before I start thinking that far ahead. But I mean, everyone's going to. Are all these companies going to start doing a direct style thing? I mean, that's what like Bethesda basically has done instead of doing a real conference, right? Like they had that Bethesda LAN thing the one year. Yes. So does that change? Do things change for them very much at all? Not really. And everyone else can just kind of do that and like what Nintendo does. I mean, do we still have like an E3 week with no physical E3? Yeah. Like, is it just kind of designated as this important week where everyone's going to talk about these things at the same time? Or
I mean, that is kind of what's happening at GDC, right? People are still going to, like, some people are still traveling there, and meetings are still happening, and companies are like, well, if you're in town anyhow, we could probably still meet. So, like, I guess it depends on the timeline, but if people have already started putting stuff in the works to do stuff in that area, around that area, at that time, yeah, I mean, maybe it just does become like the E3 online digital week, and it's like, it doesn't have to necessarily be associated with E3, but everyone knows. And then, yeah, whatever happens to the physical show, whatever happens to the ESA, who knows? Maybe this, if they survive without that income, which probably not, but if they do, it gives them a chance in like 2021 to be like, the show is very different now. We've had a year off. We have really rethought everything. But who knows if they have the leadership or the wherewithal to actually pull that off. I don't know.
Wherewithal is always a fun word.
Wherewithal, I don't use it enough, and I was like pulling that one out of my vocab right there. And I'm like, I feel good about this. I'm going to play
wrestling a lot.
I'm going to play my wherewithal card.
Fun, yeah, exactly. I like it. I'm into it.
Mike, I saw this today. I don't think we know necessarily a lot about it, but the PSN like back end has this recent habit of leaking games. Like people post stuff in there. They like reserve space in the PSN back end, and there's like this bot that can like crawl along the PSN thing and find out if new stuff's been submitted. And now something called like Star Wars Project Maverick has been uncovered using this method, and people have been talking about it today. It seems like it's real. But do we know anything else about this? Have we heard anything else about this?
I have heard. Yeah, aside from this, I know nothing about this. So
right.
Do we? Are there any rumors about what this is? Or
I mean, it seems like this is maybe. Is this what they were doing upstairs up in not Visceral because they're closed, but like when all that stuff like got thrown to another studio, EA Motive? Is this the Motive game?
Well, isn't that what Jason Schreier said was like that Battlefront spinoff that got canceled, or was that something else also?
I mean,
it's so hard to keep track of all the failed like
right, and like
Star Wars
canceled is like such a like Because, like,
Yeah,
I mean, was that game ever announced? How do you cancel a game that hasn't been announced? Like, that's just like
sure.
false starts. Like, what does that word even mean at that point? But sure, yeah, I get what that reporting was about. But I mean, this game is. It seems like it must be happening if they're like putting it in PSN. Like, you don't get to that point unless it's ready, right? Or not ready, but like moving along.
Yeah, but it seems weird to get to that point without like being announced. Like, what could this be? Like, maybe it's some kind of smaller thingamajiggy. I don't know.
I mean,
No idea.
I hope it is, right? Like, I was thinking when they started talking about Star Wars, the High Republic recently, and like this is like a book and comic book sort of publishing, cross promotional effort for Star Wars. It's not a movie,
Right.
but it reminded me, and I know this isn't a one-to-one thing, but it reminded me of like when they did Shadow of the Empire, and it was like this big cross-media promotion, like before the special editions and way before the prequels. And there was a game, Shadows of the Empire, and there was books, and there was a soundtrack even that goes with the book. Like, it wasn't a soundtrack for the game. Like, someone just like wrote a whole new score as if there was a movie and it didn't exist. And it's like, does EA have it in them to like make a game that is like that could support something like this, that there is no movie attached to, but it's like a cross promotional effort, and probably couldn't be like a huge game, but like just do something that's like a smaller Star Wars project to support this thing, which again, that's not what Lucasfilm is trying to do, but if they did want to do that, could EA even pull that off? And I don't know. Maybe it's something like this. I would really hope that they could, because we need more Star Wars games, even if there's like more bad ones. Just because if we get more interesting takes in the Star Wars universe, and that's what I'm really
Right. Yeah.
wanting from this.
I mean, I say all the time. I kind of miss like that PlayStation 2 era where there were just a lot of Star Wars games, and like some of them weren't very good, but some were, and it just felt like there's always kind of something coming out. Now it's. I mean, we don't even. There really isn't a big Star Wars game even like announced right now, right?
Yeah,
Like
I guess not. Yeah.
there isn't. Yeah, because what's it called? It's out, so that's already here. Everything else is like.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. We don't even know if they're making a Battlefront 3. I mean, maybe you
right.
can assume they are, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, I mean, I guess they've already started talking about a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order,
Sure.
but that's like so far off. Like, this is clearly nothing to do with that. So this is, I mean, I don't know. I hope if they are like just trying to make more Star Wars games, and some of them are going to be smaller, I'm happy. I hope that's what this is. And then hopefully this isn't like the one Star Wars game for like the next 2 years or something like that. So
It might be.
it might be, yeah. Where do you think EA and Disney stand like at this point with Star Wars?
I think Disney is like maybe not super like excited about it, but I don't think they care too much. Disney is at a low point in interest in video games. I think they're happy just to have EA handle this. And now with the CEO shift to Bob Chapek, who's a guy who's never been that excited about video games because he was in charge of consumer products at a time when things like Disney Infinity and Epic Mickey were happening.
Right.
They were investing in them, and the investments were like bad to okay. He's never been very excited about that market, so I think it's going to continue to just be EA doing Star Wars for the foreseeable future.
If EA wants to re-up that contract, it seems like that is the path of least resistance for Disney, and they'll probably just re-up it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Okay. Some other stuff happened over the last week as coronavirus scares have sort of reached their zenith. China removed Plague Inc. from the App Store and then also from Steam. And Plague Inc., for people who don't know, is like this like simulation game where you play as a virus and you try to design the perfect virus to wipe out all of the human population on Earth, or maybe even all life. I'm not sure, but definitely all humans. And it's a very interesting game. It's been out for a long time. It's good. It's a solid game. And it's like had previous spikes of popularity, especially when like viruses are in the news. And most recently, it's happening alongside coronavirus, where it started selling really well, especially in China, as people became more and more concerned about coronavirus and its associated disease, COVID-19. But just kind of out of nowhere, a week ago, China told Apple, "Hey, you need to pull this. It is breaking the law. It contains illegal content." And
Did they ever even try to specify what the illegal content was?
They have not. They have not tried to specify at all. It was
I mean,
from. Go ahead.
it's so very. I mean, it's obviously just very clearly like we don't like people like playing this virus game while the thing is happening.
Seems like it's very clearly that. So
it's just straight up censorship from the government. It was just like what they do all the time there. You almost just wish they just straight up would say it instead of like trying to be like, oh, this turns out this game's breaking the law.
Yep, and it's like it doesn't have a license to operate in China because it launched before the most recent like licensing like system was put in place last year. There was like a big game freeze if people remember that. They've since established a licensing program, but if games have been out before that, all of them have sort of been grandfathered in. But like so it's like it's probably not that because that would be like very specific, like that's too much of a coincidence. It does have a recent update that adds a fake news mode where you play as fake news and you're trying to spread across the world as like this fake news story, and it's like that's like a virus. That makes sense. But that got added a few months ago, and then it's been operating just fine since. It seems like again like that's too much of a coincidence for it not to be related to coronavirus instead. But at the same time, other apps like the other games that are similar haven't had the same sort of they haven't been removed from the stores. Some of them come from companies that like have a friendly relationship with the Chinese government. So maybe this is just like we don't want this external game getting all this downloads, and it was by far the most popular. And it's like if we're gonna have one of these games that's like gonna take off in our country, let's make it one that we have a relationship with. So if we want like to add specific information there, we can. I don't know. But it's like it doesn't make sense because like even if it is censorship, why? I mean, why stop people from playing this game? They're just trying to like find a release to like understand the way this thing works, even if it's like it's not 1-to-1. This is not exactly how viruses work. It's a game. But people are just trying, like, they're feeling nervous and they just want to, like, express that some way. It just doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
China government being China.
Yeah, you got to imagine it's like just some bureaucrat's child was, like, probably playing it. And he's like, wait, what the hell is this thing? You can't be playing this. That's too scary. So.
Yeah, but it's something literally like that.
It's probably something just like that.
I mean, the thing I always wonder, and my understanding is not so much, like, do the people in China get upset about these things? Like, are they really mad over there that this game was banned, or is it kind of just? I
mean, it's hard to say because, like, speaking out against the government is like, it's rare, but also the people that do have a voice in China are often ones that feel like very nationalistic about their government, and they want to support their government, and that's one of the reasons they have a voice in that country is because they've felt that way, so they've moved up to a place where they can voice that position. So it's sort of this like self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. But I mean, there's definitely people that like there's like a lot of expats in China, and they're like, well, that's just how it is here. And then like if you like sort of like shake them a little bit and like help them like remember like what it was like in other countries where there's more freedom of expression, they're like, oh wait, no, you're right, I forgot, this is actually really messed up. But it's like being in that environment, like you just sort of, it's just normal. It's just the way it is, and it's like it's really easy to quickly forget. Like it could be another way, a better way. Obviously, yeah. Weird story. Who knows if the game will come back? The developer has said that they are trying to reach out to the cybersecurity ministry or whatever. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. That made the call that it contains illegal content. And they're trying to get answers. They're trying to see if they can get it reinstated. Trying to see if they need to make any changes to make that happen. We'll see. I'll stick with the story.
Yeah, you better.
Death Stranding is coming to PC, and it's coming on June 2nd. You gonna be ready to replay that game, Mike? Have you ever played Death Stranding at all?
I did.
Okay.
I mean, it was I wanted to play more of it, but then I kind of like wanted to try playing so many other games at that end of the year, and then now it's like, do I really just jump right back into Death Stranding? I'll tell you what I will not do, though, is restart Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Like, that is a very long, slow opening, which is fine the first time. Like, I'm okay with the slow burn, but I'm not gonna do it again. Just for the sake of having ultra widescreen support or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to see what the mods are like. If the mods can make it so you can, like, skip the first chapter, I'll do that. And then I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of fun stuff you could do in there. I hope mod support becomes like really quickly and really fast. It's like it's made in an engine that has never been on PC before, so maybe like support from the community might take a while, but I hope it doesn't. I hope it's like they quickly get in there, and then this is the same engine that Horizon Zero Dawn's going to run on. So
that's been rumored to come to PC for a while too, right?
Right, exactly. And if that happens, it's like there's going to be a lot of interest there in modding both these games, and hopefully that gets figured out really quickly. And I'll be all there for that stuff. But probably not like right at release, because I put like 30 hours in that game and got like only to chapter 3. I put more than that in there. It was like 40 hours. And it was like only like into chapter 3, and it's because I spent so much time in the first chapter not realizing like, oh, you should move on quickly. If I had known that, it would have been like
you should not be doing all these side quests.
Yeah, you need to just get out of chapter 1 as quickly as possible, and it's like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I think if I did go back to it, I would be a bit less because like you feel like I feel like this kind of inclination or like this. I'm a good delivery man. I need to take all these jobs and deliver the packages for the people. But it's like I'm like don't have the very good equipment. This is taking forever. Every single time I come against the PTs, I just get kind of destroyed by them, or not destroyed, but hampered severely by them. So yeah, it seems like just moving on and then coming back to that stuff when you're way stronger. Is,
I mean, you get like the exosuits, and you get trucks.
You get highways. There's highways.
You start making highways. It's a completely different game at that point. It's like that's like the real game, and it's like, oh my god, yeah, I need to just go play the actual Death Stranding instead of like this intro. Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3 is looking pretty good.
People are excited.
Yeah, I think they should be. It seems like they're really like finding what gets people excited about these games and just hammering those points home. So it's turn-based. It's going to support like multiplayer in the same way that Divinity Original Sin 2 did. And that multiplayer means like you're playing in the world at the same time as your own characters, and it's not like, okay, now one person needs to be like, one person is the leader and everyone just kind of follows with them on their story. If you want to split up the party and like go affect other parts of the world at the same time, and like this literally means like if there's like a bandit camp like right outside of like another place your friend is going to be attacking, you can go take care of the bandit camp and either talk them out of attacking or distract them, and then your friend could go do something else that like while you're distracting them is much easier because they're not coming to attack them. And it's like, but like then at the same time, you could just go to another city completely, nothing to do with what your multiplayer partner is doing, and the world will react how it's supposed to react, and it will just keep track of all these things at the same time. It's like, man, that is a very fascinating way to do one of these kind of role-playing games. It's based on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, which by far the most popular version of D&D ever. Like, it has outsold all previous versions put together. And yeah, it just seems like a lot of people are into what they're pitching, and they were definitely auditioning for this job, Larian Studios, the developer, with Divinity Original Sin 2, and now it seems like they did such a good job that Wizards of the Coast is like, yeah, like absolutely go to town with this, do whatever you want, and they're really just making it something special. It also looks really good. Have you seen any of the video?
Yeah, it looks like better than I was expecting.
Exactly, like you're expecting, like
everyone says.
You're expecting, the camera to be pulled out and to be an isometric RPG, which can look great. But it's like, wow, there's like way more detail here than I was expecting. It looks really nice. How are you feeling about this game?
It's like, it's weird because like I want to be more excited, but I just haven't really played the Baldur's Gate games, and like part of me is like, can I really just like jump into that now? Like even Divinity Original Sin 2, I liked it a lot, but like just did not get very far, and like combat was the one thing that sort of turned me off there. So like I don't know, like part of me, I feel like I'll probably give it a try, but like I don't know why I'll feel guilty not playing the first two. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that important.
No,
like I'm not like a big. I play a lot of RPGs, but like the computer RPGs, I guess, is sort of my blind spot at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm like, I like Divinity Original Sin 2. I didn't beat it either. I might get it on Switch and start do that cross save stuff. But
right, that's kind of interesting there. So
yeah, but I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't think I could go back and actually play like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and even Neverwinter Nights and I've have some interest in Planescape Torment, especially.
I've started Planescape Torment like 3 times now. Like I'm always like I get it, and then I just like I'd never play it more than that first play session. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like I'm right there with you. Like once I get it, and it's like there's so many other games to play. Once I get to that point where I'm like I get it with a game, it's very easy for me to put it down and just like be like I do not hate this. I like it even, but I get what it's going to be like for 40 or 50 hours, and the story isn't necessarily going to be the thing that's going to pull me through because there's a lot of good stories in games. I don't have to like necessarily experience this one to feel like I'm getting something special. Yeah. But yeah, other new games announced. Valorant or Valorant.
Valorant. Let's say Valorant. Let's go Valorant.
Valorant. You know what, Mike? I'm going to go with Valorant on this one.
I think you were trying to do like Valorian and the planet of 1,000 cities.
Why would I ever try to do that though? That's what I don't get it. You're right. You're not wrong. But why would I do that?
Because you're an awful person.
Yeah. Man, have you ever seen that movie?
No,
of course not. Valorant.
I've never seen a movie where it's just like the 2 leads in this are just way too attractive.
Yeah,
attracts me.
They're too beautiful to like be in this. Yeah. Sci-fi, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm seriously like these 2 people are too beautiful to be anything but like supermodels.
Yeah, they're just supermodels. Yeah, they're too pouty. God damn it. Valorant.
God damn it.
Oh shit.
Valor. The word. Pronounce the word valor.
Valorant. That's exactly.
Look, they made up a word.
I don't know what you thought I said. That's what I said. That's what I said. I don't know what you thought. Nope. That's what I said. All right. It is like CS:GO with heroes, basically. I mean, what else is there to say?
No, it's I get it. Like, because it's basically doing for Team Fortress, like what Overwatch did for Team Fortress 2. This is going to try to do for Counter-Strike, which like it makes sense, I guess in theory. There's something about it that's a little off-putting, even more so than Overwatch, which is like designed to run on bad computers, like all Blizzard games are. This looks like it's really being designed to just run on like any potato computer out there.
Yes.
Where there's very little detail in the environments or the textures, so it like doesn't look very good necessarily.
Yeah, I mean it looks cheap. Like it does.
It looks cheap. And like some of the effects, like you watch the gameplay video, there's some ability where this guy just like puts like neo-colored like goo everywhere that like hinders sightlines, and it's just like this neon shit everywhere. It's the way I can describe it. I'm like, what is this neon shit just doing everywhere? But I mean, like the idea of it, I think it could be interesting. Counter-Strike is so weird for me because, like, I know that's a very relevant game still, but that is a game I played a lot of in, like, 1999, over 20 years ago. People are still, playing that game. So, like, the idea of, like, getting back into a Counter-Strike style experience with a good developer like Riot, that's interesting.
I'm going to try it, for sure, without a doubt. I mean, it's free to play. Like, there's, like, of course I'm going to try it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have like super high hopes for it. I bet it'll be a good game. I bet it'll be solid. But I already have like Rainbow Six Siege, and I think that's like similar enough that it's like if I wanted to play one of those games, I'll probably just keep playing Siege. Like I know it's gonna have an ongoing community. I know that like I know how it works at this point. I've played enough of it where it's like I've learned enough. Like I don't need to like start learning another new game. But if like the people I play Siege with like want to move to this game again, it's free to play. Everyone could just do that. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe I'll do
like I still play a lot of Overwatch, so I'd be shocked if I suddenly start picking this up religiously. But again, like who knows?
I mean, and Overwatch 2's on the way, and
we'll
see. I mean, we'll see if that changes things up enough. Maybe it will. And
I can't imagine Overwatch 2 is going to do too much aside from just bring back a lot of players from Overwatch 1.
Sure, but
and that's what it's designed for. Yeah, I mean that could still quote unquote hurt Valorant.
I think you meant Valorant.
I'll kill you. So yeah, but I mean, we'll see. I'm more interested to see what their fighting game looks like, to be honest, because that could be interesting.
Right, and that's still like we're still kind of waiting on board. I mean, they've shown all these games in small snippets. But we haven't seen a lot of details on any of these. Like, this is the most detail they've gone into anything that's not League of Legends or Teamfight Tactics since that, 10-year anniversary thing.
Right. Teamfight Tactics is, kind of technically still just a mode in.
Right. Not for much longer. The mobile
really?
the mobile standalone version is launching this month apparently.
No,
So yeah, I'll start playing it at that point. Until then, I'm just like I'm not gonna install League of Legends. So
right.
yeah. No. All right. Last news story: Control, Wolfenstein 2, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and more are joining PlayStation Now in March. This seems like one of the better lists of PlayStation Now editions in a while, right?
Yeah, definitely. Seems like it's so weird. Like part of me is like, is PlayStation Now just like been around too long to ever be rebranded as a real Game Pass competitor?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like they'd have to like relaunch it with the new console, right? Like, you include a limited time subscription to it with the purchase of a new console, and be like, hey, you are getting this new system. It's really expensive. We understand that. Maybe you're going to buy one game, but if you don't, hey, here is 3 months or at least 1 month of PlayStation Now, and it's going to include all of these games that are going to look even better on the PlayStation 5, and you could download them or just start streaming them. If they relaunch it with that, I mean, and especially if they start being like, oh, and we are like pursuing games like Control, which, you know, was rumored to come to Game Pass. It was supposed to come to Game Pass, right? Like even like
That's right.
Phil Spencer was like, oh, we're getting Control, and then Microsoft's be like, oh, wait, no, sorry, that was we misspoke, and it's like clearly that didn't pan out, right? PlayStation's got it, so it's like if Sony is getting aggressive about making these deals, and they're going to continue that up and through the launch of PlayStation 5. They have a chance to like reposition it and resell it, and once again like repackage it for this new audience or a re-engaged audience. Like people have had a PlayStation 4 since 2013 now, and like they get into a rhythm of how they are consuming content. But once they get a new console, they will be like, oh wait, there's like all these features here, and I really did just buy one game because it was $500 or whatever.
So it's just weird for me because like PlayStation Now to me is still like the weird like we're going to stream PlayStation 3 games to your system service. Like that's what it is to me.
And I think I don't think that's like uncommon. I think a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people who like are huge Sony first people that are like, you know, either don't own an Xbox or even if they do, barely ever turn it on. They think of PlayStation Now in that same exact sort of framing. So yeah, I think you have a lot of work out of them to like sort of get people to get past that hump. But if they keep up with months like this, it won't be that hard because people will be like, oh, this is another good deal, just like Game Pass. Why wouldn't I do it? So we'll see. We'll see if they're able to turn it around. All right, Mike. Should we talk about some games we've been playing?
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh.
Tell me about your Dragon Quest adventures.
Yeah, I finally started Dragon Quest 11. I finally finished all those Mega Man Zero and ZX games, and this was one on the backlog, and I still have a JRPG itch I want to scratch this year some more, so it's interesting because I am not a Dragon Quest guy, really.
Yeah.
As much as I like JRPGs, like I got, I think, the remake of 4 that came out for the DS. Didn't really get into it. I played a bit of 9 for the DS and liked it okay, but not a ton. Didn't play an absolute ton of it. I was kind of thrown off by like any JRPG that's a bit more in the like, I don't want to say grindy, but more of like a dungeon crawler way. Like 9 wasn't very story focused. It basically had no like party members, right? Like you made your own character. You made a silent protagonist, and then you actually made the rest of the party members too. So it's just a party of silent protagonists. Not even protagonists. There was one protagonist, and then just like Ganists or whatever. They're not pro.
Tagonists, yeah.
They're tagonists.
Yeah.
They're just they're tagging along in this.
I know you could be overwhelmed and underwhelmed, but can you just be whelmed, Mike?
Can you just be whelmed?
I think in Europe. Yeah,
right.
In Europe, yeah.
It's like it's kind of like even Shin Megami Tensei 4, which like I played because I like the Persona games. I'm like, oh, these are like Persona games without like the fun characters and story. It's just the fighting stuff. And I was just thinking today, like that game took me like 8 hours to beat. I remember like nothing about it. And it's like, it's not like I regret playing it, but now I'm talking about my philosophy of JRPGs in general. But like that, like the big thing about JRPGs with me is that, or RPGs in general, when they're party based, is that they can kind of accomplish that thing that like a TV show you really like can, like Star Trek: The Next Generation, or like a sitcom like Frasier, where like by the end of it you have
the two best shows of all time, right?
Yeah, yes. You get this like really deep attachment to the characters. Like there's that kind of like weird like, oh, this is like a family of characters. Like I'm sure people watch The Office, like Parks and Rec, and you get that with JRPGs when they have these big, these big character driven stories and these big casts and stuff like that. So that's why and I guess I always kind of assumed Dragon Quest was much more kind of just a go out and do a bunch of random battles sort of game and not much of an emphasis on story and characters and
But
stuff like
11
that.
is not. It is. It seems like it's got a pretty decent story, right?
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much like the story is simple, I guess so far, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
all
know,
Dragon Quest
7, 8
stories
hours.
are at least simple. Yes, I
Right,
know
and
that much.
that's fine. But it is character driven. They're like all the cast members that have joined me so far are interesting and fun. There are like a decent amount of cutscenes. The voice acting is actually very well done. It's a very good looking game too.
Yeah,
Like I'm pretty surprised.
it's
It's
Unreal,
not.
right? I think
I
it's.
think yeah, it looks very good. It runs very well on the Switch,
Mm-hmm.
which is very nice. It's still interesting because with Final Fantasy not doing turn based anymore, like aside from Persona, you just don't see a lot of like super high end turn based JRPGs. So
Yeah, I played it a little bit on PC, and it was. I thought it looked incredible. That was the thing that actually kept me. That's what got me into it originally. I'm like, this looks so good. I just want to like play it and like see what it looks like in motion. And it translated. Like the characters are super sharp. I mean, there's still that Akira Toriyama style, the
the
Dragon
Dragon Ball guy,
Dragon
yeah.
Ball guy style. But it's in 3D, and it's almost like if Dragon Ball was a CGI movie, and it
Mhm.
looks that good.
Another, yeah, like another problem I had with like the older games is that it's that sort of first person battles where you don't even see your characters, right? You just
Yes,
see like basically pictures of the monsters and it's like all menus.
right.
And I can kind of get past that, but it's so much nicer here. Like, oh no, here's those characters. They look great. They have these good animations. They just project so much character just in the way they fight things and
Yep.
they're saying things. I'm like, this is very charming and fun. Even if the battle system is like simple but well done. Like
Mm-hmm.
battles aren't boring necessarily. It hopes that like you get MP points back from your mages when they attack a person. Like they just do their basic attack. Like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't do much damage, but they get MP. So it's not like some of those like old Final Fantasy problems where you're like never using magic outside of boss battles
Mm-hmm.
or like these like instances where you're just going back and forth between an end to replenish your mana constantly because it's such a pain to run out of mana. You can use spells and stuff like that. So and then there's like a pep up thing, which is kind of like the trance system in Final Fantasy IX, where characters will after every so often like go into this powered up state, and once they're in that state, they can actually kind of do combo attacks with each other, which is a bit of a almost kind of Chrono Trigger esque thing. So yeah, it's like it's all kind of coming together pretty nicely here.
There's a Is the Switch version the one that could switch between like the 3D and the 2D style, or is it just the
Yeah,
3DS?
no, yeah, this one can. So, I mean, I turned it on just to see. It like you can't just like turn it on whenever. You have to go to a church, which is where you go in these games to save.
Okay.
And like it doesn't just immediately flip it on. You basically have to like start at the beginning of like a specific chapter of the game,
Huh.
and you can kind of start playing through it like that. So, and I mean, I basically you pick from the beginning which one you're going to do or not,
Okay.
like pretty quickly. And I imagine the vast majority of people are going to turn on the 2D, like try it, be like, ah, neat, and then go back to the 3D.
I mean, it is neat that it can do that though, because it's just the same game. Like it's
Right.
but it looks like an old like NES Dragon Quest game, right?
Yeah, maybe a bit more like an SNES Dragon
Okay.
Quest game, I guess I'd say. I mean, it is there's that problem where it's like they I don't know why all these games are bad about this. Like the font is still super clean, so it's like
Yeah.
right, like yeah, it always drives me crazy. But I mean, I bet if you really like this game and wanted to play it again immediately, I bet it would be fun to
That'd be a
like
good way to do it.
yeah, do it on 2D the second time, I guess, right? Why not?
Very cool. All right. Let's. You playing anything else that you could talk about, or should I just talk about my stuff? Because I can't. I don't
No,
have a ton. Because
yeah.
the game I'm playing, I can't talk about.
But my big problem now is that like I'm already like I should go play all the Dragon Quests now, and it's like what that's a big thing, and then what versions? Because I know like people like 7 and people really like 8, and there's those 3DS versions of both. And I'm like, can't they just release those for Switch too?
Yeah.
Like, that's my big thing. Is like, I just want these games to come out on a Switch.
Yep, I know exactly what you mean.
If they release any more Dragon Quest games on the Switch, then I will play them. That's what I'm deciding.
There you go. Yeah,
that's my ticket.
I bet they will do exactly that eventually.
Like, why the heck not?
Yeah,
right?
I think they'll do exactly that. All right. So yeah, I can't talk about the game I've been playing mostly, and I have been playing a ton of it, so it's like not a lot of time for other stuff.
I need to ask you about that though.
Yeah, for sure.
Off the record, what could it be?
Yeah, and I think you'll be like, I think you'll be happy. The gaming projector, though, that's what I've been playing mostly. It's a
man.
Yeah, it's a projector.
Better start selling me on this quickly because I'm already bored.
I mean, if you're not going to set a projector up in your home, yeah, just be bored then. It's from BenQ. It looks good though, and it's 1080p. So it's like I have my like 4K TV over here, and I have the 1080p projector that's like twice the size on the wall, and I'm like, I still kind of can't notice the difference. Like, so 4K is really starting to feel like bullshit to me, but that's the biggest thing I've learned from this. But
you gotta get it for 8K, Jeff. Come on.
I know, right? And they're trying to sell us an 8K. And I'm like, I will rip your eyeballs out if you try to sell me an 8K TV. But yeah, so I was like, they position it as a gaming projector, a console gaming projector, and I'm like, projectors, I know they tend to have like quite a bit of latency. So is this really going to like actually live up to this? Is it going to be able to handle games, modern games at a relatively like responsive rate? And it does. It's like even when I was like playing some Stadia games on it, which is adding more latency on top of that, I didn't notice anything. It just was very snappy, very responsive. It felt like I was playing on just like any old modern LCD TV. And so it's like it's really good for gaming. Another reason for that is it's very bright. It's got a lumens, like 3,500 lumens, which is like the measurement of light.
That's wow. That's a lot of lumens. I
by light bulbs, you've seen this measurement before. Like, but yeah, it's very bright.
You mean watts?
Well, I mean, watts is the old way of doing it. Like, because watts was like,
is it?
Yeah, because like the
watts. We don't use watts anymore.
Well, we do. They do use watts, but now like all the new light bulbs are so efficient. They're like 8 and then 15, and it's like, but they're like these. This is equivalent to like an old 60-watt light bulb, but it's like 800 lumens, 1500 lumens, and it's like
I still feel like you're making this word lumens up.
Well, that's fine. Of course I am. No. But the point is, it's very bright, Mike.
Wow.
It's not so bright that you could like have it on during the daytime. You'd have to pull the blinds shut. But once you pull the blinds shut and you mostly block most of the light, it's
and those lumens really come through.
Those lumens are just gonna blaze your eyeballs right
out.
Aren't
those the things Rayman collects?
Yeah, I mean he's very into. Yeah, he used to collect watts though. That's the thing. Fuck, that was a dumb joke.
No, I liked it. It was good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's a good projector, basically, is what it boils down to. The only problems are, it's like, if you are not setting it up as like a dedicated home theater, if you are like, oh, maybe I want to have a projector instead of a TV in my room where I've always had a TV, well, now you have the inputs in the back of the room, and like how do you connect your sound to it? How do you connect the consoles to it? Do you have to set them up in the back of the room as well? Like, these are all headaches you're gonna have to figure out. The good thing is, I think it's worth it because for me at this point, 4K is okay, HDR is better, but just still, like, the size of the display is the biggest thing for me, and having 120 inches instead of 55 it's a huge difference, and it feels way more immersive than any of those other like TV features that we're getting right now. So it's like, this has been a really cool thing to like play around with, and I'll probably I think I might end up trying to get one for myself and see, like, actually kind of set my home up around that. It's been very cool. It also works for movies, and it's been great having, like, you know, put on the kids' Pixar movies, and they really, like, you know, we sit back on the couch and lay back and look up at it, and we get popcorn out, and it feels like, you know, you're in a movie theater almost. It's cool.
Cool.
And then the other game I'm playing, it's literally just mowing, and you won't guess what it's about, Mike. It's literally just mowing.
Sounds thrilling.
It's a free mobile game where you flick the lawnmower, the riding mower around, and the whole reason the game works is that the sound and the look and the feel of cutting the grass is very satisfying. Yeah. You could tell they put a lot of work into making this grass chop up super nice.
I mean,
and the path
you're really enjoying this game about mowing? You're not pulling my leg here?
I mean, look, it's free, and I'm not like gonna tell you it's like game of the year, but it might be in my top 10. No, it's satisfying, and it is what it is. It is a very simple game, and it's not challenging. You just like, I don't think you can really lose. It tells you if you miss a spot of grass, like you just go over and get it then. But it's like the act of actually taking the mower over this long grass and then like leaving that like really pristine path behind you, and then like it makes that perfect checkerboard like you see on like golf courses or whatever. It just that feels so good that it's nice. I'm probably only going to ever play this game for a total of maybe 2 hours in my entire life. Like, I mean,
that's a lot of time to mow the lawn. I mean, that's
both those things are,
doing it for real 4 times or something.
Yeah, but it's like, that's what else I could fit in, like, while I'm playing this other game. So that's what I had to talk about. But I
used to hate cutting the grass, but I always had to do it for my dad. And, you know, because his property was way too big. Now that I do it for myself in my small house, it's like relaxing. It's nice.
Yeah, it's like it's a change of pace. Like,
listen to some podcasts and
exactly. Yeah. So I think it's going to be mowing time here pretty soon again here. We've been covered in snow and ice for like months straight, so I haven't had to think about it, but yeah. That's it, Mike. That's all I got. I mean, I played a little bit of Call of Duty to get that Tamagunchi, but not enough to really talk about. Tamagunchi, Mike.
Tamagotchi?
Tamagunchi. It's a Tamagunchi. It's basically a Tamagotchi. It's a watch you wear in Call of Duty, and it has a virtual pet, and you raise it by killing people. You can feed it and evolve it by killing people, and the more kills you get, the bigger and stronger it gets. It's just a virtual pet in Call of Duty, basically.
Oh, is it good?
I mean, I started playing it. I added it. I got some kills, and I don't really know how to interact with it, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I was confused. But I mean, like, you know, this is the Activision Blizzard company. It's not surprising that another one of their games got a virtual pet, right? I mean, World of Warcraft has this shit, right? Yeah. I guess I don't know how it works in World of Warcraft. How do virtual pets work in WoW?
There's like pet battles. I've never bothered with it. It seems stupid to me, but people like it. I don't know.
Well, it's
Pokemon Light. It's Pokemon Light. What you're doing sounds almost like
Tamagotchi.
Yeah, Tamagotchi Light.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they call it a Tamagunchi. That's literally
right. They're literally going straight forward. I get it.
Yeah, but not enough to like really talk about that in any way. Yeah. But yeah, that's it, Mike. Should we just wrap this thing up?
Let's wrap it up, baby.
All right, everybody. We're gonna get out of here. Mike's gonna tell you where you could find him on the internet.
You can find me on Twitter as Tolkoto, TOLKOTO.
I'm Jeff Grubb on Twitter. I'm like looking at the calendar. Like, I don't think we can even talk about this game until like 2 weeks from now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the embargo's way out there. All right. I'm Jeff Grubb on Twitter. Jeff Grubb on Twitch. We're streaming this week on GamesBeat's Twitch, so twitch.tv/GamesBeat. If you didn't catch it live, we're gonna start doing that again, and then we're also gonna put the stream up on YouTube when it's done, and you can get that on youtube.com/VentureBeat, I think. And then on YouTube, I'm youtube.com/Jeffrey Grubb, and you can check my videos out there. All right, we're gonna get out of here. We'll catch you next week. Until then, have a good one and goodbye.
Bye.